I'm CJ Atkins, and I've been with People's World since 2016, serving as managing editor for the last 5 years. I've been to a few of these so far, and what has stood out about this one actually is the inaccessibility of a lot of the official proceedings. You know, we've got so many activities and organizations that are hosting events in the city, but to actually get up close to a lot of the delegates, the DNC, the Chicago police, there's sort of been this effort by all of those forces to keep a lot of us, the media, and people who are from some of these independent groups from getting anywhere near those official proceedings, whereas before we had pretty easy access in past years to be able to go right up to delegates and talk to them, people from states around the country, to find out what issues they care about, what's motivating them. You know, we've been able to do some of that in a lot of these other activities. We've found our ways, of course, as reporters, as journalists, but the thing that stands out for me has been this effort to restrict the access to the convention itself. Well, we always rely a lot on our allies and our connections in the movements that we're a part of all year long, all season long, whether it's an election or not. So whenever we're at one of these conventions, we're not just relying on the Democratic Party, right, you know, to provide us with our opportunities. We're calling the people we know in the trade union movements, the people from the Poor People's Campaign, folks at the Rainbow Coalition. In this particular instance, it's people who are involved in the ceasefire struggles. We're calling on them. They let us know where things are, where we need to be to cover it, and we make sure we're there. You know, we're here in Chicago for the Democratic National Convention, but what's stood out to me most, what's impressed me most, hasn't really been the official televised proceedings that we see every night. Even though I'll grant, you know, there's been some great speeches on the first night, Shawn Fain, AOC, some of these others. But what's impressed me most is really the rising star of the forces of political independence. You know, the elevation of Harris to the presidential nomination spot, yeah, that's provided a lot of energy to different forces, and that's great. But I'm most impressed by the fact that the ceasefire movement is standing strong, and it's still out there demanding today, not after the election, but today, a change in the policy when it comes to arming the genocide in Gaza. For me, when I'm at these events, I try to focus on, you know, what comes the day after the election. Because we're going to be building up all the forces to get out as many votes as we can over these next, 75, 80 days. But then what happens afterward? Because we've seen in the past, if we're fortunate and we do our work and we win the victory, there's been too often a demobilization of a lot of the progressive forces, right? So I'm always looking for where are those opportunities to highlight the strategic and tactical discussions of what do we do afterward. If we win, how do we take advantage of those victories? How do we make the most of the opportunities that come from it? And if we don't win, then how do we start organizing and preparing for the fight back?